Hey, how's it going today? Hey, I want to do something a little different today on my channel, Tractor Pulling with GZ. Hey, I had a lot of guys ask me, they said, hey, I heard you wrote a book. And I said, yes, I did. I wrote it a few years ago. And back when I was messing with the draft horses a lot and still had a lot of activities going on with them and everything. And I've lost my dad since then. And I wrote this book in memory of my dad and all the old timers I growed up with. And here's kind of a copy of it I did. It's called Listen, the Old Timers Are Talking. I got a picture of my dad on the front page with these draft horses driving it. And what the book is about, it's the way I growed up and how times was so hard back then when I was a kid in the 60s and through the 70s. And you know, people waste so much today, and that's a lot about what my book's about. So let's kind of discuss some stuff. We'll just kind of go through some chapters and we'll just talk about, you know, gardens was very important back then. We raised our own food, and I still try to do that some today. I know I watch a lot of homestead videos on YouTube, and I still learn quite a bit, you know, but I don't plant a big garden anymore because it's just me and the wife around here anymore. And you know, it's a lot easier just to go to the grocery store when you're just feeding two mouths, you know. And right now through the summertime, you know, we don't eat a whole lot, maybe 2 meals a day, and that's about it. You know, when you work hard and you work out in the heat, I get my belly full, I ain't worth a darn. So let's kind of go over my book here in a minute, and we'll see what you think. Anyway, I kind of started my book off taking in what we did when I was a kid. You know, we planted a big garden. My mom and dad didn't have a whole lot of money, and we'd taken in the springtime, you know, Dad would plow the garden early, and he plowed it with the horses, a horse-drawn plow. And then he'd taken hair of the fresh dirt down, and then we took a what we called a rower. It was kind of like, you know, what you buy today, but it was horse-drawn, and he'd make these rows, and we'd cut them eyes off them potatoes. Well, when we took and we'd have a gunny sack full of potatoes with eyes on them. And all of us kids would sit around a shade tree with Mom and Dad, and we'd cut them eyes off and throw them in a bucket. And then in the center of the potato was we called the heart of the potato. You know, it was already peeled white or red potato, whatever it was. And Mom would throw them in a bucket of water. And guess what? Every night, I mean, there were a couple nights, you know, like if it was a Friday night or a Saturday night, we had potato soup. It didn't matter. It was ate and cleaned up, you know, whenever we got done. But I was a kid, I ate a lot of tater soup around tater planting time. But so we'd plant them potatoes, you know, and Dad would hoe them, you know, and everything. And of course, he hand hoed them, and he'd pull weeds by hand. And us kids did plenty of our share of pulling weeds too. Well, we'd go to harvest them, and of course we planted them all at once. We didn't space them out. Well, he'd go get the wagon with the horses, you know, and I'm talking a field here. I'm not talking a little garden area. And we'd pull all them potatoes up. And he had what he called a potato plow, and we'd roll them potatoes out. Well, our job was as kids to dig in it, and we loaded that wagon full of potatoes. And we'd pull around the house, and we had a cellar beside the house, and it had a potato bin in the cellar. And back then, the old cellars underneath the house, you know, they always stayed kind of cool. And we'd load them buckets up, and we'd carry them down the old rock stairs, you know, and we'd throw them in a potato bin. And you wasn't allowed to dump them hard, you know. You had to roll them out easy, you know, that way you wouldn't bruise them. But some lady came by one day, and she said, I can't believe you ain't washing the potatoes off. Well, you know, you never wash a potato off if you're going to store it, because you wash it off, take the dirt off of it, it's going to rot, you know. And so that was one of the learning experiences. And then I wrote about back when I was a kid. I grew up about a half a mile out here in the country in no man's land. Well, about a half a mile down the road was the country store. And they sold soda pop, sandwich, lunch meat, and groceries, you know, for people that couldn't go to the big town or a town. You know, it was handy. And we'd go down there in the mornings and stuff, you know, when the old men was drinking coffee and they had a table in there. And I heard a lot of stories. Them old men, you know, we called it the table of knowledge. But, you know, they didn't talk about nobody like people do today, you know. They'd always talk about educational stuff with us kids. Well, I can remember a guy bringing a board in one time and had a bunch of nails drove in it. And he had string going around it. It was like a fence, like a kid's toy fence. And I said, what is this? He said, that's the flow of electricity. And he had a little gate in it, you know, and he explained, you know, how the power comes off the power plant. And of course he had the wires going to the nails and stuff wrapped around the nails. And he brought it in and he showed you know, like a hot wire and a neutral wire and how you break your hot wire. And he had like a gate on a fence, you know. Well, that's how you broke your switch. And he was an electrician, you know, and he explained it to me. And that's what I do for a living today, you know, and I still get that in my little head, or my head, my big head, and my hard head. And I still use that today, you know, knowing that I learned that as a kid. And I noticed today, you know, there ain't many places around, you know, that the old men sit around and drink coffee in the morning and discuss stuff, you know, and the kids don't listen. I mean, you know, I ain't saying nothing bad about kids, but, you know, it's very important that kids listen to us today, you know, because, you know, I know when I was young, you know, it was hard for me to listen sometime to the old guys, you know, but after I growed up a little bit in life, you know, I remember what them guys told me, you know, and that's what I kind of wrote about my book. Another thing is, you know, for entertainment, you know, but, you know, like kids today, you know, they go play on, you know, these electronic devices like I'm playing today, you know. I didn't have that when I was a kid, so I'm playing on here today. But, you know, back in our entertainment, you know, you wanted something to do. You grabbed a fishing pole, you went out and you hand dug worms, and you went fishing, you know. And I remember on a moonlit night, and I wrote about this in my book, and I ain't gonna get in everything on this video or nothing, but you'll have to read my book. But we'd catch skunks as a kid. Well, they said it couldn't be done. It can be done, you know, and I still hear them talking about it today. But you got to be really, really fast. You take skunks running through a hay meadow at night on a moonlit night. You got to run up behind them. When they lift that tail up, you got to catch them, grab them by the tail, and get their front feet off the ground, and they won't spray you. Now, we caught, I don't know, I can't remember, that was years ago, but we caught several skunks. We put them in a gunny sack where they couldn't see us, you know, and we moved them out of the hay meadow because they was thick in this guy's hay meadow, and it was just down the road. But I remember, you know, we made our own soup because we got sprayed a couple times, and we kind of made a suit out of real tablecloth and stuff. And of course, you know, I mean, I got it right in the chest one time, right in the face, and of course I coon hunted for years as a kid, and I'd been sprayed, you know. We called it coon hunting, but back then, you know, you caught possums, skunks, mink, you know, everything. And I've been sprayed a few times, and I've took my share of baths with tomato sauce, you know, and the old mixture the old timers did. But it was a lot of fun back then, but people ask me, you know, today, they said, you tractor pullers has got a copy of my book, and I'm not really promoting it. I'm just, you know, like to get it out there, you know, but I've had a lot of fun with it. I've had a request to write number 2, and that's what I'm doing now. I'm kind of writing number 2. Another thing was, you know, I talk about is today, the kids today, you know, they have a lot of trouble with bullying. They call it bullying, you know, in schools and stuff, you know, and you know, you get in a fist fight in school now, and, you know, you're going to get thrown out of school for the rest of the year or go to jail, you know. And back then, you know, I mean, we had a scuffle with somebody, you know, we just give them a good old-fashioned ass whipping, you know, and I've had my ass whipped a few times, you know, but I've given many kids a pretty good ass whipping at one time, because I'll tell you what happened to me one time. I was on the bus, and I was a younger kid, and I had this kid picking on me all the time, you know, and so I wasn't scared of nothing back then. And we got in a seat one time, and the back seat in that bus was his bus. or his seat in that bus. And I told my neighbor boy, I said, I'm gonna sit in his seat. I said, this is a public bus, or this is a bus. We ain't got assigned seats, you know. I'm gonna sit in his seat. Well, he didn't like it. He threw me out of that seat. Well, I went ahead and moved because the bus driver was getting on to me. Well, one day at school, he met me out there underneath the mulberry tree because he told me he was going to kick my butt. I said, well, okay. Well, let me tell you a story. Them old timers taught me when a bull's charging you, he's going to lower his head, close his eyes before he makes contact, and then you can sidestep him. So that's what I did. That mulberry tree had some roots growing out from underneath that tree on top of the ground. And that old kid come at me, and he was 2 years older than I was. And he come at me, and he lowered his head just like an old bull. And I sidestepped him, and the old tennis shoe stepped over tripped over them roots, and he fell down. He got up, and he went to swinging. And I'll tell you what, my actions was, and I started sidestepping him as he was swinging because he put his head down for some reason. Apparently, somebody never teach his kid how to fight. He'd put his head down and he started swinging his arm like a woman. I thought, what the world is this guy doing? Well, the second time he fell over one of these roots and he smashed his nose on a root and he started bleeding. Well, that's about the time the principal showed up and broke up the fight. And the principal, he thought that I just beat this kid to a pulp. And I didn't do nothing. Only thing that happened was this kid took and fell down, hit his nose on the root. I thought it was kind of funny, but I kind of wrote about that in my book, you know. And then another thing is, you know, we milked cows back then when we were a kid, you know, and milk was very important. And I see a lot of this on these homestead movies now, you know, about people milking and raising, you know, got a cow, a couple of milk cows, you know, for their milk and stuff. But our milk barn was at the bottom of the hill. And then the winters it'd snow, you know. Well, we went to school every day, you know. We had to be on the bus like 6:30, 7 o'clock every morning. Well, my dad would get me up at 5 o'clock every morning just to help go milk, to carry that milk up the hill in them buckets. I mean, in them little cream cans, we called them, and put it in the milk cooler on top of the hill. But, of course, we used a trailer, but I'd have to help load it on the trailer. But and then we'd have to clean the barn out and everything, you know, after we milked every day. But you know, try to get a kid up today and to go out do chores at 5 o'clock and then go to school all day and then come home and milk again that night. So, you know, work ethics in life has changed a lot, and that's kind of what my book's about. And but I ain't saying nothing bad about the kids today, but I'm just, you know, in my own mind, and other people see it too, you know, that work ethics has changed. Now, I'm kind of a workaholic, you know. I mean, I own my own business, and I do a lot of carpentry work. I build cabinets, I do electrical work, I do appliance repair, I do everything. And, you know, you got to make a living, you know. And but I go to hire somebody, you know, and they want to work. Well, the first thing they talk about is money. How much money am I going to be making? Well, I want to say, you know, what are you worth, you know? Show me what you're worth. Now, I've had some good guys work for me, and I still do, you know, but I've had a few, you know, they show up a couple days and they find out what the heat's about, you know, working out in the heat, and they just can't take it like us old timers, you know, our old timers do, you know, but us old farm boys, you know, us old farm boys was tough, you know, and we still are, you know, and that's what makes this world today in America, you know, us farm boys, you know. And I ain't saying nothing bad about the city boys, you know. They're tough too, you know, and they got a job. But I had a guy that, you know, had an office job. He was in the air conditioner every day. And he showed up with me to start working. And I'm telling you what, I thought he was going to die. I mean, he was so used to that air conditioner. And that's another thing, you know, when I was a kid, we didn't have air conditioning. You know, we opened the windows, we had an attic fan, or we had a fan in the window to draw the air through the house. You know, we're spoiled today, folks. We are spoiled today. You know, our cars, you know, we go down the road with our windows open, or our windows closed with the AC on. Our AC breaks down, we think it's the end of the world, you know? And, you know, if I'm going to go to work all day and work outside in this 90 to 100 degree heat index, you know, building a barn or remodeling a house or anything, you know, I ain't going to turn the air conditioner on when I leave home. You know, I might have an hour away job. I ride an hour away in the air conditioner, you know, or I'm in an air conditioner for an hour, and then I get outside and work 7, 8 hours in the heat. That's going to kill a man, you know. So, you know, there's a lot of things in this world has changed, you know, and I kind of wrote, anyway, that's kind of what my book's about. And especially, you know, I learned a lot of this stuff from the old timers, you know, the old tricks in life, you know, and another trick is, you know, I do a lot of fishing. And, you know, I use bait, and I ain't gonna let my secrets out, you know, but they got all this over-the-counter bait now, you know, and of course, I guess it's, you know, it's pretty good stuff, they say, but, you know, this old remedy stuff, this old stuff, you know, the old timers used to use, you know, go out and dig you a bucket of worms, you know. Turn you a rock over or something and get you a little shovel or something, go digging your own worms instead of running down to the store and buying them. That costs money, folks. It costs money to buy worms, you know, or chicken liver. You know, this sounds probably kind of crazy, but, you know, we raised a few rabbits back then, you know, when I was a kid. And, you know, we'd take them rabbits or something and they'd just die naturally as a baby rabbit. You know, in the box, you know, like mom would kick them out of the box. So go pick that rabbit up. Go pick that rabbit up, you know, and throw it in a sandwich bag or something and put it in a freezer or something and thaw him, or you freeze him and thaw him out when you're ready to go fishing. Boy, that's perfect fishing bait. Or these birds, you know, like sparrows or something. They, you know, they fall out of a nest and they die or something, or they're going to die or something. Put that dude on a hook and take him down to the river and catch a big old flathead, you know. But things has changed so much in this world, and I pray every day that, you know, that we all survive. You know, look at the earthquakes today we're having and everything, you know, and right here in the mid-United States, you know, Phil, who had ever thought we'd have an earthquake, you know, and it just seems like, you know, every time it storms anymore, you know, we have a tornado somewhere, and the heat's killing us and everything, but of course, it was like that, you know, when we were kids too, you know, but we didn't pay no attention about it, you know, and I kind of wrote about this too, you know, and I ain't got nothing against any weatherman or nothing like that, but these weatherman's going to give these old people a heart attack. Seems like every time we get a wind over 50 miles an hour, they give a storm warning over the television or your cell phone or something, and I'm telling you what, people get panicking when they hear a storm warning, you know, especially, you know, after what happened here in the Midwest, all these big tornadoes and everything, killed all these people and stuff, you know, but you know, hey, if it's going to storm, it's going to storm. Just keep your eye to the sky and be your own weatherman, you know. Look at them clouds. Look at them clouds, you know. You can tell it. I mean, if you got any common sense at all, you're going to see if it's going to rain. You know, and some of these devices they got today, you know, that tells this and tells that. You know, I got a stick give to me that I put on my front porch, and it tells me if it's going to rain or not. It's the damnest thing I ever seen, and I've never seen that thing droop when it rains. It must be it's called a rain stick, but it kind of works. I mean, when it gets to raining, it kind of droops down, and when it ain't going to rain, it's hot and dry, it stands up. You know, but things has changed so much, but I'll get off here. Just wanted to kind of do a short video and tell you, yes, I did write a book. Everybody asks me at these tractor pulls, they say, GZ, I heard you wrote a book. Well, yes, I wrote a book. So if any of you would like to get one of them copies of my book, I've got the first one here. It's called Listen, the Old Timers Are Talking, and I've got a lot of pictures inside there of the old ways. And when I had my draft horses, I went and did a demonstration on how to plant wheat at a farm show for some people, so I kind of taught, you know, some people how to do things back then, and then I got a picture when I was a teenager here, plowing with my dad. I had a pair of horses, and Dad had his horses, and we each had a plow, and we was plowing, and we could plow about 2 acres a day with 2 pairs of horses, you know, even on a hot day. And another thing, I took and just ran across this the other day, and in the shop down there when I was cleaning my dad's shed out, is I had a roll of wire here, and somebody asked me, what are you going to do with that wire? Well, that wire is very important. It's old. When I was a kid, we planted corn, and I used to have to stretch these wires out through a corn planter, and it was called checking corn. We'd roll these wires out, and there was knots in these wires, and every time the planter the spool of the wire had a knot, and every time it hit that notch in that planter, it'd drop a seed. Well, the purpose of that, when you cultivated corn, you could cultivate that corn either way. You could go north and south or east and west with it. It's kind of like grafting it out, but you didn't have many weeds. You know, you could cultivate both ways. You get between them, and people didn't understand that. You know, some of the farmers, the high-tech farmers today, you know, I talking about checking corn, and they look at you like you're stupid or something. But that was just the way of life. Well, I'm going to get off here, and thanks for watching Tractor Pulling with GZ, and I'll see you at the tractor pull next time. Have a good day.